The Ingalls family, Pa, Ma, Mary, Laura, and baby Carrie, start their journey westward in search of new land. Pa has decided to leave their home in the big woods of Wisconsin to find a place where he can claim land under the Homestead Act and, build a new life. They pack everything they own into their covered wagon, affectionately called the covered wagon, and begin the long, treacherous journey across the frozen landscape. For weeks, they travel through forests, across rivers, and over the wide prairie, with Pa often scouting ahead to ensure safe passage. Throughout the journey, the family encounters several challenges, including wild animals and a crossing of a frozen river that nearly ends in disaster. Laura and Mary grow increasingly anxious as they head into the unknown, but Pa reassures them that they are heading toward a better future. After weeks of traveling, the family finally arrives at the open prairie, where Pa believes they can settle and start building their new home. The prairie is vast, open, and unlike anything Laura has ever seen. The family sets up camp and begins their first night on the prairie. Laura notices the wide open sky and the endless horizon, feeling both excited and small in the enormous landscape. Pa explains that they are in Indian territory, and although there are no other settlers around, they will need to be cautious and respectful of the land, as Native Americans still live nearby. The family is aware of the challenges that lie ahead, but Pa's optimism keeps them moving forward. Without wasting any time, Pa sets to work building the family's new home. He chops down trees and uses his axe to fashion logs for the walls. Laura and Mary watch as Pa works tirelessly, with Ma helping to gather materials. Despite the hard labor, Pa remains upbeat and excited about the new house. As the house begins to take shape, Pa enlists the help of a passing traveler named Mr. Edwards. He's a rugged and friendly man who helps Pa with the heavy lifting. Mr. Edwards quickly becomes a close friend of the family and shares stories of his adventures with Laura and Mary. Pa builds a strong log cabin, complete with a fireplace for warmth and cooking. He carefully constructs the roof using thatch and wooden beams, making sure the house will withstand the harsh prairie winds. When the house is finished, the family moves in, and Ma sets up her kitchen, making the small cabin feel like home. As the family settles into their new home, they begin adjusting to the routine of life on the prairie. Pa hunts wild game to provide food for the family, while Ma prepares meals and keeps the house in order. The girls help with small chores, such as gathering firewood and keeping the house tidy. Laura and Mary spend their days exploring the vast prairie, playing by the creek, and observing the wildlife around them. They marvel at the prairie chickens, rabbits, and other animals that call the prairie home. Although they miss the familiar forests of Wisconsin, the newness of the prairie brings a sense of adventure and excitement. One day, Pa takes the girls to meet their neighbors, the Scott family, who live several miles away. The meeting reassures the family that they are not entirely alone on the prairie, and they take comfort in knowing that others are working to settle the land just like them. Living in Indian territory, the Ingalls family soon has their first encounter with Native Americans. One day, two Native American men come to the house while Pa is away hunting. Ma remains calm, despite her nervousness, and offers them food. The men take what they need and leave without speaking. Although Laura is fascinated by the encounter, she is also fearful, as she has never seen Native Americans up close before. Pa later explains that the land they are on belongs to the Native Americans, and they must be respectful of their customs and way of life. Laura begins to learn about the different cultures and people who live on the prairie. Life on the prairie is not without its dangers. One afternoon, Laura notices a line of thick smoke on the horizon. Pa quickly realizes that a prairie fire is heading straight for their house. The dry grasses of the prairie can easily catch fire, and the wind carries the flames with frightening speed. Pa acts fast, plowing a fire break around the house to prevent the flames from reaching them. The family watches as the fire draws closer, and the girls cling to Ma in fear. Thanks to Pa's quick thinking, the house is spared, and the fire passes without causing harm. However, the event leaves the family shaken, reminding them of the unpredictable dangers of prairie life. As winter approaches, the family prepares for the cold months ahead. Pa hunts for food, storing meat and supplies to last through the winter. He builds a sturdy barn for the animals, ensuring they'll have shelter from the harsh weather. Winter on the prairie is long and cold. Snow covers the ground and the wind howls through the cracks in the cabin. One night, a sudden blizzard strikes while Pa is out hunting. Ma and the girls worry as the storm grows worse, but Pa eventually returns, exhausted and frostbitten. He tells them how he nearly got lost in the storm, but managed to find his way home by following the sound of the wind. The family spends the rest of the winter huddled together in their cozy cabin, making the best of the cold days. Pa plays his fiddle in the evenings, and the girls listen to his stories by the warmth of the fire. Chapter 8: The Well and Independence Day. As spring arrives, Pa decides to dig a well to ensure a reliable source of water. With the help of a new neighbor, Mr. Scott, Pa begins the back-breaking work of digging the well by hand. However, during the process, Mr. Scott is overcome by gas and nearly suffocates. Pa saves him just in time, and they proceed more cautiously until the well is finally complete. With the new well in place, the family now has fresh water close to the house, making life on the prairie a little easier. In the summer, the family celebrates Independence Day for the first time on the prairie. They travel to town to take part in the festivities, which include a parade, fireworks, and a patriotic speech. Laura is amazed by the sights and sounds, and the day becomes one of her happiest memories. Chapter 9: Indian Tensions and the Council. As more settlers arrive in Indian Territory, tensions with the Native Americans increase. The settlers are technically trespassing on native land, and many Native American tribes are upset by the influx of white settlers. One day, Pa hears that the government is planning to remove the Native Americans from the area and give the land to the settlers. A council meeting is held between Native leaders and government officials, but the outcome is uncertain. The Ingalls family worries about what might happen if the situation escalates. Despite the growing tension, Pa remains hopeful that they can continue living in peace on the prairie. However, the uncertainty weighs on the family, and they begin to question whether they can stay in their new home. Chapter 10: The Decision to Leave. The tension between the settlers and the Native Americans finally comes to a head when soldiers arrive to warn the settlers that they must leave the area. The government has decided that the settlers must vacate Indian Territory, as it is still legally Native land. Pa is disappointed, but understands that they must follow the law. The family begins to prepare for another move, this time to a safer area outside Indian Territory. Laura is sad to leave the house they worked so hard to build, but Pa assures her that they will find a new home where they can settle permanently. The family packs up their belongings once again and leaves the little house on the prairie behind. As they ride away in their covered wagon, Laura looks back at the place that had been their home for so many months. Despite the challenges they faced, the family remains hopeful for the future, knowing that they will always be together, no matter where they go. Like and subscribe to Bedtime Stories in 10 minutes.